Hi, my name's Althea. I was 19 when I found a lump at the base of my neck. I told my parents. They told me I was being dramatic. For 7 months, they called it anxiety, attention-seeking, just another phase. But I wasn't pretending. What hurt more than the pain itself was the silence. The people who were supposed to love me most decided my suffering was nothing more than a performance. At family dinners, they laughed. My father joked about WebMD. My mother told neighbors I was fragile. They even told doctors not to scan me, burned the reports, erased the proof. And then, the night I collapsed in public, they still refused to believe me. You might wonder, why would parents do that? What were they trying so hard to hide? And how much damage can silence really cause? That morning when I first noticed it, the frost still clung to the bathroom window. Steam curled against the mirror. I remember touching the lump with wet fingers, heart racing. I wasn't someone who panicked easily. But this was different. Different enough that I should have known my life was about to change. What happened next made me realize the lump wasn't the only thing growing. So was the distance between me and the people I called family. In our house, concern always meant drama. If you said you were hurting, you were weak. If you asked for help, you were wasting money. When I mentioned the lump again, Dad didn't look up from his paper. Let me guess, WebMD told you it's terminal. A week later, unloading groceries, I tried again. Mom, it's bigger, I can feel it. She didn't blink. Stop Googling stuff, Althea. You'll give yourself a stroke. From the porch, Dad boomed. Remember the ER bill from last year? $300 for a doctor to say you were anxious. Neighbors probably heard. That was the point. Last year, it was chest pain. They called it panic. They never let me forget. But this wasn't panic. This was real. Still, their eyes told me I was guilty of overreacting. At night, I stared at the ceiling, wondering if they were right. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe I was just too much. But the lump didn't care. It grew until I felt it pressing every time I tilted my head. So I went to a free clinic, bus ride through the snow. The nurse didn't laugh. She pressed my neck gently and said, "You need an ultrasound." Her tone gave me hope. For about a week. Then the bill arrived. $75. That was all. But Dad slammed it on the kitchen table like it was betrayal. So you sneak off and waste money? You think it grows on trees? It was 75, I whispered. He cut me off. Next it'll be MRIs, surgeries. You think we'll pay for your drama? That night he cut my gas card, locked the account, and with a voice colder than the snow outside said, "Earn it first." I didn't cry. I just touched the lump in the dark kitchen, remembering the nurse's words. Early detection mattered. And I realized then, they weren't protecting me. They were erasing me. And when my mother burned the clinic report in the fireplace, I finally understood just how far they'd go to keep me silent. After that night, I stopped asking. I wore my hair down, scarves high around my neck. It was easier to hide than argue. In silence, I became two people. The agreeable daughter at dinner, and the girl who wrote symptoms in a notebook, hidden under her mattress. January 24th, sharp pain turning left. January 27th, numbness in fingertips. January 30th, report burned, no apology. The notebook became my only witness. At work, I said it was just a knot. At home, I laughed at Dad's jokes. I performed normal, and they believed it. But the ache grew louder, like a drumbeat beneath my skin. One evening, as the fireplace flickered, Mom held a folded page. The clinic report I'd hidden. She must have searched my room. "You've been keeping secrets," she said. I whispered. I didn't want another fight. Her smile was thin. "You've always had a flair for melodrama." Then she dropped the page into the flames. Ink curled, black smoke rising. "You won't poison this family with paranoia," she said. "One more stunt like this and I'll make it psychiatric." Then she walked away. I sat frozen, watching the last corner turn to ash. That was the night I understood. They weren't just ignoring me. They were erasing me. So I learned to play along. Smile at dinners. Not at weather talk. The performance became second nature. But in the margins of my notebook, my handwriting grew darker. Every detail. Every word they said. And then came the first sign I couldn't hide. At my grandfather's birthday, the room spun. Mom gripped my elbow, dragged me into a storage room. "You need to pull it together," she hissed. "I'm trying," I whispered. Her eyes flashed. "I don't care. Smile or leave. I won't let you ruin this family's name," I whispered. "You care more about appearances than my life." The slap came quick. Not loud, but sharp enough to burn. She adjusted her bracelet. "Fix your face, or don't come back." I left. Walked 2 miles home in heels, the cold biting harder than her silence. That night, I wrote one sentence until the pen tore the page. "Next time they look at me, I want them to see the ashes." I thought the worst had already happened. But when I collapsed in public, strangers believed me more than my own parents ever had. The collapse came on an ordinary Saturday. I was shelving books when the floor tilted beneath me. Light fractured into spinning dots. Then darkness. When I woke, I was lying in the snow outside. "Stay with me." A woman's hand gripped mine. For the first time in months, people weren't walking away. They were moving toward me. The ambulance siren rose. Then lights. Hospital air. Antiseptic cold. And my parents. Mom at the foot of the bed, lips tight. Dad by the window. "She has a history," Mom told the nurse. Emotional exaggeration. "It's happened before." The nurse hesitated. "She collapsed in public. Prior notes recommend imaging." Dad cut in. "Delay the scans. No unnecessary exposure." I whispered, "I didn't faint." But no one turned. Protocol held. Observation only. 3 hours later, I was discharged with fatigue. No scans. No answers. Back home, Mom hissed. "Do you realize how humiliating that was? Collapsing in public?" I whispered, "I didn't do it on purpose." "You're making this family look unstable," she snapped. That night, I stared at the letter from House 24. The words echoed. "That lump's not normal." Someone saw me. Someone believed me. But I still hadn't gone. 2 days later, the dizziness hit harder. At work, the words blurred. My manager pushed me into the ER. This time, a new name. "Hi, I'm Dr. Chen, neurology resident." When he pressed the base of my neck, I winced. "Do you want to speak privately?" he asked. I nodded. Behind the curtain, I whispered, "There's a lump. 7 months. They won't let me check it." He paused. "You haven't had imaging?" I shook my head. His voice was steady. "You don't need permission to be taken seriously." That night, he coded an MRI himself. 30 minutes inside the machine, the clicks hammered in my skull. Every second I thought, what if it's nothing? What if I am crazy? Then Dr. Chen rolled in the monitor. "There," he pointed. A dark mass pressed against my brainstem. "It's why you're dizzy. Why you fainted. Why you're in pain." My throat tightened. "You weren't faking anything," he said. "And now we act." Tears slid silently. Not fear. Relief. Finally, proof. I looked at him, voice steady. "Then let's begin." But just when I thought the nightmare was ending, a recording surfaced. And it proved my parents weren't just neglecting me. They were conspiring against me. The message came on a Thursday morning. A voice memo from my cousin Noor. 16, maybe 17. She never reached out without reason. At first I heard clinking silverware. Then a voice, sharp, familiar. My mother. "If you let her think it's real, it becomes real." Laughter followed. "Griffin, my uncle. She thinks she has a tumor now. Next week it'll be a heart condition." The memo ended. I sat very still. They hadn't misunderstood me. They had denied me. And now I had proof. I forwarded the file to Dr. Chen, then to Reina, my patient advocate. No commentary. No begging. Just evidence. That night I built a folder on my laptop. Not faking it. Inside, MRI scans, receipts, clinic slips, my symptom logs. The voice memo. Everything dated, undeniable. This wasn't about asking for care anymore. It was documentation. For survival. For justice. Days later, my parents showed up for my follow-up. Mom's voice was crisp. "We'll come back with you." "No," I said, steady. She blinked. "You don't make the rules, Althea." "Yes, I do." Her face flushed. Dad stiff beside her. Dr. Chen appeared, glanced at me. I nodded. He guided me inside, leaving them behind. For once, the room felt different. Not tension. Truth. Reina slid a paper across the table. Legal contact. For patients who've faced systemic neglect. I folded it once, then twice. Didn't hesitate. A week later, in her office, I handed over the flash drive. "This isn't just delayed care," she said quietly. "This is obstruction. Neglect." I nodded. "I know." That night, I typed the transcript of the recording, each word on its own page. I slipped it into a manila envelope, marked the front. For the day they tried to deny it. 2 mornings later, Noor called, her voice shaking. They cornered me at brunch, said I doctored the recording, told me to apologize. My chest tightened. "What did you say?" She paused, then stronger. "I told them they weren't protecting a family. They were protecting lies." I closed my eyes, pride and sorrow colliding. She was 16, and standing taller than adults who should have known better. That night, I whispered to the quiet, "They don't get to speak for me anymore." But my parents weren't done. They took their version public, and turned my suffering into a performance for television. They tried to take their version public. A morning talk show teased the segment. Parents who saved their daughter from health anxiety. There they were. My mother in lavender, camera ready. Griffin smirking. "We helped her overcome hysteria," Mom said. I muted the TV. The next day, the segment was gone. Dr. Chen and Reina had sent producers the real files. My MRI scans, the voice memo, my records. The show apologized. Sponsors withdrew. My parents vanished from the spotlight. For once, I wasn't the invisible one. I didn't gloat. Instead, I wrote, I wasn't faking it. It wasn't dramatic, just truth. The ache of being dismissed. The erosion of self-worth when your body screams. And the people meant to protect you look away. Within days, it spread. Young people sent journals. Parents admitted they'd rethought how they listened. It wasn't vindication. It was acknowledgement. Months later, I stood at a podium. The launch of the Second Voice Foundation. A home for kids whose pain had been silenced. Until a second voice saved them. Nor sat front row, proud. The woman from House 24 was there too. I said, I'm not a survivor because I fought back. I'm a survivor because I stopped waiting for permission to exist. Silence. Then, one by one, they stood. Not polite applause, recognition. Later, I hiked to a childhood lake. The water was still, sky wide, scar behind my ear catching wind. For the first time, I wasn't apologizing. I was living out loud. Sometimes the people who should protect us become the ones we need protection from. But truth doesn't vanish when ignored. It gets louder until it can't be denied. Have you ever been dismissed when you tried to speak your truth? Share your story in the comments. And if this resonated, subscribe for more real stories. Because your voice matters here.